The News Talk Radio Newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
Good morning. With your major newscast, I am Jessica Daw, which comes to you with the compliments of Eureka Medical Laboratory. First, with the highlights. Several Guyanese and a Barbadian are in custody in Barbados after they were allegedly caught in a boat with a large quantity of marijuana. Former Finance Minister Winston Jordan has been ordered to return to police investigators this morning. A Latin American political scientist is recommending that Guyana abides by strict rules in its relations with China. In the region, Antigua and Barbuda has inked a deal with a law firm to take action against those responsible for climate change. And internationally, South African authorities say there is an unprecedented number of cases associated with the Omicron variant of the coronavirus. The details of these stories and more in just a moment.
Don't let the fear of contracting the coronavirus disease deter you from seeking the medical care you need. At Eureka Labs, we ensure the safety of our clients and staff with our rigid sanitization routine. This involves the use of ultraviolet lights to effectively rid the air and all surfaces of viruses and bacteria that may be present throughout the lab daily. The light works to rapidly inactivate microorganisms through a physical process that is invisible to human eye. So the next time you need a checkup, don't hesitate to give us a call on 225-7574 to schedule your appointment.
Now for the news in detail. 4 Guyanese and 1 Barbadian have been arrested in Barbados's territorial waters, allegedly with a quantity of marijuana in their possession. Barbados Today reports that the joint counter-narcotics operation also netted the boat which was allegedly used to transport marijuana to Barbados. Acting Lieutenant Commander of the Barbados Coast Guard Derek Braffett said that the operation was conducted on November 24. He said it involved teams from the Coast Guard, the Police Drug Squad, and other agencies. Mr. Braffett said that other information related to this seizure would have to be provided by the Barbados Police Force, which has taken over the case for investigations and any possible prosecution. Former Finance Minister Winston Jordan is today expected to return to investigators in connection with alleged misconduct in public office. Police say that among the several allegations he faces is about the sale and vesting of the state's largest wharf facilities located at Kingston, Georgetown, valued approximately $8 billion, which was sold for $110 million. Police say that BK Marines Limited paid only 10% of this purchase price of $20 million, and Minister Jordan allegedly issued a vesting order passing title to the purchaser without the payment of any further sums of monies. The Guyana Police Force says that the vesting order stated that a property is being sold free from encumbrance and liabilities. Police say that the vesting order also reportedly states that no further sum of money is owed by the purchaser. Investigators say that the transport was subsequently issued for this property and the value states $400 million. According to investigators, the agreement of sale stated that the title must only pass upon full payment of purchase price. Attorney at law Roysdale Ford says that Mr. Jordan has to return to the Special Organized Crime Unit at 10 o'clock. The lawyer says the allegation does not have any bias and amounts to a political witch hunt. He notes that a civil action against the former finance minister for the same matter has already failed. Mr. Jordan served as a finance minister under the People's National Congress reform-led coalition administration. 3 persons who allegedly offered a $700,000 bribe to a policeman to drop an investigation have been charged. Police say they have each pleaded not guilty and have been granted $40,000 bail and ordered to return to court on January 4, 2022. Those charged with a corrupt transaction with an agent are 34-year-old Vishal Munilal and 25-year-old Kulawati Munilal, both of 45 Houston East Bank, Demerara, and 26-year-old Hari Audit of 87 Gordon Street, Kitty, Georgetown. They allegedly offered the bribe to a policeman at the Grove Police Station, East Bank, Demerara, on November 27, after one of them was held on 2 sentence warrants. Police have already said that Mr. Munilal was apprehended on 2 sentence warrants and escorted to the Golden Grove Police Station and placed in custody. While there, he requested a telephone call to his lawyer, which was facilitated by the police. The suspect was visited by the attorney at law, and shortly afterwards, Ms. Munilal gave him a package. Police alleged that Mr. Munilal then requested to speak to the investigating officer, and in presence of another policeman, he gave the investigating officer $700,000 cash to forego investigation or prosecution against him. United States Professor of Latin American Studies, Professor Yvonne Ellis, says the Joe Biden administration should insist that Guyana and other countries abide by transparency and the rule of law. He says the U.S. should also seek to press on the importance of competent government institutions that can make well-informed and equitable decisions in awarding contracts. Other requirements, Professor Ellis says, include approving acquisitions and enforcing labor, environmental, and other laws for all firms operating in the country. He says there should be alternatives to Western sources of investment insofar as Guyana is currently benefiting from a petroleum-fueled economic boom. He recommends that the U.S. Development Finance Corporation is a logical tool to channel U.S. investment toward Guyana if the focus of Guyana's current opportunities in the petroleum sector does not conflict with the desire of the current U.S. administration to focus on green projects. He says the United States' relationship with Guyana's current government is more positive than ever before, at a time when other governments in the region are turning in a notably less cooperative direction. Professor Ellis says the United States should presume that the PPP government is acting in good faith with respect to its dealings with China. At the same time, he warns that across the Guyanese political spectrum, there is potentially corrupting impact of Chinese companies, business people, and their money. Chairman of the Western Hemisphere Subcommittee of the House Foreign Relations Committee, Congressman Albio Sirez, says the time has come for the United States to stop criticizing countries that do business with China. Mr. Sirez was addressing the committee on the topic, the Biden administration's policy priorities for Latin America and the Caribbean.
As we think about how to compete effectively with China, we need to use our competitive advantage. This means tapping into our innovative private sector and deepening our network of alliances. Simply criticizing countries for doing business with China will not get us very far. We need to be at the table offering credible solutions and providing serious alternatives. We should also use our convening power to bring governments together to address challenges that transcend borders, such as the impact of climate change and increased migration from South America through the Darien Gap.
Congressman Mark Green also told the House Foreign Relations Committee's subcommittee on Western Hemispheric Affairs that he is working on a law to make American businesses relocate from China.
I'm working on a bill that will prioritize moving critical parts of our supply chain out of China and back to the Western Hemisphere among our allies and partners. Not only will this bill help confront the rise of China in the region, but will also increase economic opportunities and reduce some of the push factors leading to illegal migration. It's a win for the United States, and it's a win for Latin America.
Congressman Green explains the socio-economic implications of China's expanding trade relations in Latin America and the Caribbean.
The U.S. also faces the growing challenge of malign Chinese influence in the region. The Chinese Communist Party has been working furiously to buy off our neighbors in Latin America through its Belt and Road Initiative. However, partnering with Beijing always comes with strings attached. Over the past decade, countries in the Western Hemisphere have outsourced much of their manufacturing to China. While Latin American currencies increased in value because of the China commodities boom, many of these same countries chose to purchase relatively cheaper Chinese goods, leading to less demand for and a drying up of their own manufacturing base. This has led to an increase in unemployment and an over-reliance on Chinese manufactured goods.
U.S. Congressman Mark Green. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony says that more Guyanese are taking booster COVID-19 vaccines. He says so far almost 2,000 persons have taken a booster shot.
We're able to complete at least 1,914 booster doses. I think it's now picking up. A lot of people are coming forward now. Initially, it started out very slow, and a couple of the regions didn't start their booster campaign on time, but I think that's getting much better now.
The health minister outlines the combination of vaccines that are being given to boost the resistance of persons against the coronavirus.
If you got 2 doses of the AstraZeneca, then we are saying after about 6 months, you can come back and get a booster dose. That booster would be done with 1 dose of Pfizer, which is Pfizer is an mRNA vaccine. So that's what we are recommending as your booster. If you had 2 doses of the Sinopharm, then we are recommending that you get a 3rd dose of the Sinopharm. Again, that happens 6 months after your 2nd shot. If you had a J&J alone, which is a single dose vaccine, then after 2 months, you come back and you get a booster. If you had the Sputnik V, after 6 months, you come back and you will get a J&J booster. If you had the 2 doses of Pfizer, you come back, we give you another dose of Pfizer, and that's after 6 months.
The health minister says persons 50 years and older and 18 years and older with comorbidities or a frontline worker are all eligible for booster vaccines. 2 teenagers have been arrested and charged with break and enter and the larceny of a cell phone store at Cariveton, Berbice. Police say that the 15-year-old male and 17-year-old boys were not required to plead to the indictable charges. Magistrate Mr. Rabin Dranat Singh remanded them to the Juvenile Holding Center until January 6. Police say the teenagers broke and entered and stole a number of items from a cellular phone store between September 25 and 27. They were arrested on November 20th and charged on December 1. A 20-year-old man of Vigilance Southeast Coast Demerara has been charged with discharging a loaded firearm with intent on 3 men. Police say Junior Gathers committed the offense. Edison Edgel, Kobina Watson, and Jason Archibald on October 31. Mr. Gathers pleaded not guilty to each count and was granted $450,000 Guyana dollars bail. Magistrate Fabio Azor ordered him to report to the officer in charge of the Vigilance Police Station every Monday and Tuesday. He has to return to court on March 17, 2022. Now for the news in the region. Surinamis may soon experience a shortage of fuel because the company Sol has stopped supplies due to hefty debt owed by the government. Sol says the Suriname government owes it $4 million in subsidy on fuel for the state. The company has given Minister of Economic Affairs Saksia Walden an ultimatum until Sunday, the 5th of December 2021, to adjust the pump prices. Sol says it is suffering enormous financial damage because the government has been keeping fuel prices below cost for months, but is not repaying the ever-increasing subsidy debt. Sol has for several years guaranteed fuel deliveries to the Surinamese market for years. Former Police Commissioner of Trinidad and Tobago Gary Griffith says he's holding text messages which, if revealed, can cause a snap election before year end. Griffith did so while on Citizens Union leader Philip Alexander's Gloves Off show.
Well, let me tell you something, gentlemen. If Kid Rowley feels that little boy attitude of sending private text messages between a commissioner and a prime minister, he sees it fit to go public. If I start to reveal text messages, there might very well be a snap election before the end of this year.
The Trinidad Guardian also reports that some messages between both were revealed in a September 25, 2020 letter from the then Police Service Commission Chairman Bliss C. Prasad when she wrote Griffith on the PM's loss of confidence in him. C. Prasad's letter detailed issues concerning Griffith's reaction and response to various matters, including the text messages between him and Rowley, which she detailed. And lastly, in the region, Antigua and Barbuda has entered into a partnership with international law firm DLA Piper. Antigua Newsroom reports that through this partnership, the firm will provide legal support to the nation free of cost. The focus of this cooperation is on assisting Antigua and Barbuda in overcoming some of the challenges posed by climate change, including its impact on local wildlife, environment, and communities. Here now is your international news coming from the BBC.
BBC News. Hello, this is Jerry Smith. South African health officials say coronavirus cases are surging at an unprecedented rate as the Omicron variant takes hold. They say the rate of increase is much faster than in previous waves of the pandemic. Michelle Groom is a leading health official.
You can see that we really are seeing an unprecedented increase in the number of new cases in a very short period of time. So we have seen that this has been concentrated mostly in the Gauteng province and quickly spread to other districts, and we are now seeing increases in all of these districts. We are still seeing this very rapid increase, particularly in Gauteng.
The Taliban have issued a decree calling for what's described as serious action to enforce women's rights in Afghanistan. The order says women are not property, but free human beings. It says women should not be forced or coerced into marriage and details property rights in the event that a woman is widowed. But there's no mention of employment rights or education. Women's rights have been a major concern since the Taliban took control in August. Laos is opening a $6 billion high-speed railway line financed by China in a bid to modernise one of Asia's poorest countries. Here's Jonathan Head.
The 400-kilometre railway from the Chinese border to the Laotian capital Vientiane runs through mountainous terrain and required the boring of 75 tunnels at a cost of around $6 billion. Laos hopes it will improve tourism and trade with China, and China hopes it will eventually link up with Chinese-built railways planned for other parts of mainland Southeast Asia. However, some economists question the benefits it will bring to an impoverished and thinly populated country like Laos, compared to the significant addition it will bring to its already heavy debt burden.
A court in the Philippines has allowed the country's first Nobel laureate, Maria Ressa, of the news website Rappler, to travel to Norway next week to receive her Peace Prize in person. She's on bail over a libel conviction, which she says is politically motivated. Our correspondent in Manila is Howard Johnson.
Maria Ressa and Rappler have done a lot of hard-hitting journalism, particularly looking into the Philippine war on drugs. President Rodrigo Duterte at times urging on the police to kill people in this drug war. The International Criminal Court are currently looking into allegations of crimes against humanity connected to that. And Maria Ressa then experienced a barrage of abuse online from shadowy trolls, and then eventually a score of cases against her, legal cases filed by the Department of Justice. Her legal team said a month ago that they would like to see these cases dropped because they say that they're nothing more than politically motivated cases.
Howard Johnson. You're listening to World News from the BBC. The disgraced former head of global athletics, Lamine Diack, has died at his home in Senegal. He was 88. Last year, a French court found him guilty of corruption. During 16 years as head of the IAAF, he took millions of dollars in bribes from Russian athletes who wanted to avoid punishment for failing drug tests. Mr. Diack was sentenced to 4 years in jail, but never went to prison. An urgent application to halt an underwater seismic survey by the multinational oil giant Shell has been dismissed by a South African court. 4 environmental groups wanted to stop exploration of the Eastern Cape's wild coast, saying it would damage marine life and vulnerable ecosystems. Shell maintains the survey would do no harm. Vumani Mkize reports.
The decision by the court means Shell is now free to conduct its underwater seismic survey in an area called the Wild Coast. The survey will last 5 months, and a vessel will use a pressurized air gun on the seabed in search of oil and gas. Environmental activists have argued this will harm marine life and vulnerable ecosystems. Shell maintains these surveys are harmless and that over 300 have been conducted globally without reports of harm to marine animals. Locals have vowed to continue their fight against Shell. A second group of activists have launched another court case against the company.
The annual rate of inflation in Turkey has reached its highest level in 3 years. It climbed to more than 21% in November. The leader of Turkey's main opposition party has described the official figure as false. He asserts that the true rate of inflation is far higher. Despite rising prices, President Erdogan has repeatedly demanded interest rate cuts. On the second day of his visit to Cyprus, Pope Francis has addressed thousands of Roman Catholic worshippers at a football stadium in Nicosia. The Pope's trip is intended to highlight the suffering of migrants. BBC News.
That was your international news. Here now is a recap of the highlights. Several Guyanese and a Barbadian are in custody in Barbados after they were allegedly caught in a boat with a large quantity of marijuana. Former Finance Minister Winston Jordan has been ordered to return to police investigators this morning. A Latin American political scientist is recommending that Guyana abides by strict rules in its relations with China. In the region, Antigua and Barbuda has inked a deal with a law firm to take action against those responsible for climate change. And internationally, South African authorities say there is an unprecedented number of cases associated with the Omicron variant of the coronavirus. And that was your major newscast, which came to you with the compliments of the Eureka Medical Laboratories. I'm Jessica Dahl.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.
A COVID-19 PCR test is now mandatory for many routine activities, including travel and return to work purposes. At Eureka, our trained and experienced staff will ensure confidentiality while your test is conducted in a professional and timely manner, with results in just 48 hours. So the next time you require an efficient and hassle-free PCR COVID-19 test, call 624-8378, 608-8378, or 623-7233 to schedule your appointment. You can also ask about